Hobby Quick Hits. Delivering that breaking hobby news directly to your earlobes. You want to know those hot drops from the card shop? We've got you covered. With your host, John Newman.
Welcome to episode 136 of Hobby Quick Hits. The episode title called Quad Hobby Time, and you're probably reading that or hearing that and saying, what does that mean? Well, what does it mean? It means it's the time of the year in sports where you got the start of the NBA and NHL. You've got football in mid-season form, and you got the World Series. So you got all four sports playing concurrently. And what do we know based on performances that happen on that ice, that court, those fields? You know, player values go up and down. And as a dealer, you know, I probably one of my busiest times of the year based on what's going on out there, in sports based on performance. And fall is my favorite season when it comes to seasons in general. So I've already liked this time of year, and then you factor in this hobbies, all four sports are underway. And then you got now you can throw in the World Cup is kind of rescheduled for a later time. So that'll be starting up rather soon here too. So there's going to be a lot of sales this time of year as performance occur on those playing surfaces, right? Guy has a big game on the court. You know, someone in hockey has a good week, maybe a hat trick, have a couple other good games. World Series, somebody goes off and has a great pitching performance or a 2-home run game. Your eBay notifications are going to go off. Hey, you just sold a bunch of said player if you have some. So it's my favorite time of year, just in general, and we're going to talk about sort of this dynamic on today's show. But before we get to that, we're going to hear from a word from our great sponsor, Mojo Breaks, do some new, hobby news releases, Q&A, and then we'll get to my favorite part of the year, hobby-wise and season-wise.
MojoBreakShop.com is the best place to get your sealed wax products and brakes. They not only have the best selection, but the best prices. Whether it's a box or a whole case, they are your guys. They ship worldwide to your doorstep. Their reputation as one of the most trusted in the hobby goes unmatched. They are the 2021 Topps Rip Party Champion Breakers. From sports card to Pokemon cards, their selection can't be beat. They offer daily deals and pre-orders.
Hey guys, John Newman here. Mojo's prices are already great, but to save an additional 10% off anything in their store, use the code QUICKHITS. That's QUICKHITS. Check out the full service store that's open 7 days a week in Santa Clara, California, or the website at mojobreak.com.
Let's check out this week's Hobby Wax releases. Take it away, Max.
Hey guys, this is Max from the Sports Card Shop in New Buffalo, and I'm bringing you guys the weekly releases. Hope you guys are having a great Halloween, and I'm going to bring you guys the rest of these releases for this week we have coming up here. On the 2nd of November, new month ahead of us, we have 2022 Panini Chronicles Draft Picks Basketball, 2022 Panini Origins Football, 2022 Topps MLS Chrome Soccer, 2022 Topps Star Wars Chrome Black, 2021 Upper Deck AEW Spectrum Wrestling. And on the 4th, we have 2021-22 Panini 1-in-1 Basketball, 2021-22 Panini Select Basketball H2, and 2022 Topps Cosmic Chrome Baseball. Thank you guys for tuning in to the podcast. Enjoy the rest of this Halloween week for you guys. Have a good week. Thank you.
Time for the segment where you ask me a question and I answer it here on the podcast.
All right, today's question I got a few times in the last probably week and a half, or once the World Series was set, asking me basically who was I rooting for, or how much World Series would I watch? So who am I rooting for? Well, I don't have a dog in this fight, so no one in particular, but I guess if I have to pick one, I'd rather see the Phillies than the Astros. At least, it's a Northeast team, and we know about the Astros' history of recent. So I'll say I guess I'd like to see the Phillies hoist the World Series trophy. And as far as how much of the series I will watch, I'm not going to change my schedule for it. So if I have an interview scheduled, I'm going to do that. If I have other things I'm working on or doing, then I'm going to do that. I'm sure I'll catch, here and there parts of games, if you will. But it's not appointment TV at this point between the teams involved and just everything I'm doing. So I think that answers both of the questions there.
Let's go round the hobbyverse and catch up on this week's hobby news.
All right, got a few stories this week. Collectible had a buyout offer of $1.4 million for their 52 Topps Mantle, graded 8. It was rejected by the shareholders or fractional shareholders of that card. And there was a card before that one, I believe, a LeBron James. Don't quote me. That was also rejected. So we're seeing some lower offers come in on some of these bigger cards. I don't know if that's coincidence or just a market indicator, but either way, two fractional share cards were matumboed with their offers. An auction at Sotheby's went a little less than I would have guessed had you asked me beforehand. The 2002-2003 Washington Wizards warm-up jacket worn by Michael Jordan as he left the basketball court for the last time. It's the last item he wore. Went through a private sale. Didn't go through auction at Sotheby's, but private sale for $900K. I have no inside knowledge, but don't be surprised to see that item pop up on either Goldens or Prestige or Heritage or some other more sports-related sort of auction house. So that's my prediction there. We have an arrest and a robbery. So we heard about last year Nash cards in Tennessee and Eddie Sports cards also in Tennessee were burglarized, and two suspects have been caught. One is the actual thief. The other is the lookout guy. Their names, Coy Lee Best and Thomas Casimir, from Tennessee themselves, accused of taking $75,000 worth of sports cards. They were charged with conspiracy and interstate transport of stolen goods. Their crime spree lasted 8 months in 2021. They each could serve up to 15 years in prison each if convicted. We've seen how these go recently, and generally it seems like the sentence is between 3 and 5 years. All right, last story, kind of a sad one. A store in Canada called Blue Nose Collectibles, owned by husband and wife Wayne Arnott and his wife Louise Boucher, were shot to death in their store. It was not a robbery, but their son Mitchell Arnett was charged with the murder stemming from an incident that started at home and spilled over at the store. So domestic violence ending in two store owners passing away. So condolences to the Arnett family there. Tragic situation. So that's this week's news.
And now, our feature presentation.
All right, time to talk about quad hobby time, but generally the season of fall. My favorite season, maybe it comes from my football coaching career, which I really enjoyed doing for many years, from youth level to high school. Maybe it's because I really enjoy just football in general. I'm a big football fan. But the fall season, the temperatures are more comfortable. I like that, those. I'm a hoodie guy or a pullover guy, so like those cooler temps for sure. But we're not talking about dress wear. We're here to talk about the hobby. The great part of the fall is what we're seeing right now, right? Is all four sports active at the same time. No matter what night you turn the TV on, you're going to be able to watch almost any sport you want. And don't forget the World Cup is upcoming soon with its rescheduling. And you look at right now, we got the World Series underway. We've got basketball and NHL just starting their season. We've got football sort of at the midway point. We're starting to figure out, who the real players are, who the real teams are, and who the pretenders are, right? And, when we come to talk about postseason, right, especially in baseball, that's where guys are made, right? That's where sort of a role player can become a World Series hero, and a card can go from the common bin to the showcase, or from the common bin to a bigger price sale on a selling platform, whether it be eBay or another one. So, this isn't necessarily about flippers, selling cards after one great performance, which nothing wrong with that either. This is how cards all of a sudden can go from stagnant to, getting those sales notifications on stuff that's been sitting on your, inventory for months, if not years. A couple names come to mind, right, when it comes to, especially World Series, guys that sort of come out of the woodwork, so to speak, in more recent times, right? We go back a little further, 1996, right? Jim Leyritz of the Yankees just could do no wrong. Jim Leyritz's cards weren't worth much then. They aren't worth much now, but at that time, I remember, this is 26 years ago, but I still remember just selling a bunch of Jim Leyritz stuff for, prices that, looking back now, and it's just kind of crazy, right? But it's an opportunity to, sell stuff if that's your thing. And I've been a dealer since 1987. It gives you an opportunity to sell some cards that probably wouldn't sell in any other situation, right? 2011, the Texas Rangers on two separate occasions were one strike away from winning the World Series, and a guy named David Freese came along and just took that game over with and had won, I think, this World Series MVP. And I remember, if you're old enough to remember, David Freese cards were selling left and right. Autograph cards went from, common autograph card status to $50-$60. And I just said, man, this guy just got hot. This isn't going to be a career-changing kind of performance. It's a postseason-changing performance, and it helped propel the Cardinals from to a World Series parade, from on the brink of one strike away from being runner-up. And, I mean, that hype was real. Cardinals have a serious fan base, and, I sold a lot of David Freese cards. I had to list some of, I didn't have them out there, but I got them out there to move them. Game one is in the books this year. We see Kyle Tucker with a great performance in game one. And I was already a Kyle Tucker guy. I have a lot of his stuff. But, these are the kind of performances that can change the hobby and, what's selling and what's not. We see in basketball, Bobo again had a decent game. And, his name's come back out in the forefront, right? We've seen guys in basketball, have a game or a couple games and, sell to levels where they haven't before. And they're really not that player consistently, but they get hot for a little bit of time. Hockey, not so much, but, hockey players can have great weeks, and the hobby takes notice and buys in. And football, same thing, right? At this time, about week 8 or 9, we know who's out the rest of the year with injuries. We know what rookie quarterbacks look good, what that have played and got in, who hasn't. We know, like this year. Take this year, for example, right? Everybody was off the Saquon Barkley train, right? Well, that train just stopped, and a lot of people got back on because Saquon Barkley's having probably arguably his best year since he's been in the NFL. He looks refreshed, he looks renewed, and he looks like the real deal everyone thought he was. Now, there's still time, but I did the recent Syracuse show, and he was one of the guys that people were talking about the most. Now, granted, I am in the New York area, so it makes a little sense to why. But a lot of people, he's a likable guy, plays in a big market city, obviously in New York City. And so people want him to do good from either having a lot of his stuff in their inventory or kind of wanting to buy him, but you got to have a reason to, right? Other than just the fact that they like him, right? And so we're seeing that. We're seeing the Giants' resurgence. Even though Daniel Jones is not playing, out of this world, he's playing better and they're winning. So sort of a resurgence into Daniel Jones a little bit. Now, I'm not a Daniel Jones guy, but I understand why some people might be invested. We saw what happened in New England with Bailey Zapp and people going crazy for his stuff. Now Mac Jones has been named the starter again, right? So if you're one of those Bailey Zapp buyers, you're probably a little nervous, if you will, because Mac Jones is back, and so we'll have to watch that situation. Kenny Pickett of my Steelers showing some moxie, but also struggling a little bit too. Malik Willis has looked pretty good in short stints when he's kind of got the ball in garbage time as a quarterback. And so, Garrett Wilson, I know he got hurt, but he was looking great at receiver for the Jets. And, Drake London had a good game or two, and then he's kind of come back to earth. But it's those performances, right? Even if it's 1 or 2 weeks, that can put these players in a different trajectory, and as a seller, gives you an opportunity, especially if you don't, I hate to say it like this, but I keep it real for you on this show, right? If it's a player you're not fond of or you don't think's going to be good, gives you an opportunity to, sell those cards, right? Where maybe long term you won't be caught holding the bag, if you will. And that, that's I love this time of year for all those reasons, right? Some of the sales you can make, and just the season in general, and just the fact that you have all 4 sports going at the same time. You don't get all 4 sports all year long. They're not year-long sports, and so they all kind of, this time of year, they're all kind of concurrent, and it's nice if you're a sports fan, and I'm a sports fan. That's why I'm into sports cards, right? I was a sports fan first, and so it's a great opportunity. When you do shows during this time of year, when you got all 4 sports going on, there's just more buzz with people looking for multiple players. And it's just a vibe. It's just a general positive vibe this point of year. If you got a good team, you're trying to get those cards of your guys. And even if you have a bad team, I think sometimes that can help too, because, if your team's doing bad, you kind of out on them or disappointed, but you're like, what? I do like how this guy's playing. I'll just buy some of his cards. So, I don't know, one of my favorite times in the year in the hobby, I'm sure I'm not the only one either. And, all I'll say is this, be careful buying. It's fun to sell, but, and I like to buy too, don't get me wrong. But be careful buying this time of year, because some of these performances, you got to think long term. Is this player just out of his mind for a week, or is this really what we're going to see or semi-see on on a consistent basis. And so, I hate to say this because I might be costing myself a couple sales, but just think along those lines as well. So, but there's different ways to collect. Some people are collecting long term. That would be me with my personal collection, and others are collecting to buy Monday and sell Wednesday. So, the shoe, there are different shoe styles and different sizes. So for all. So, but hobby your way, as I always say, collect what you love, sell what you like, and as long as you're not doing it to anything illegal, it's all good and it's all fun. So, we'll keep it short and sweet with the hobby quad episode, and appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Check out our website at www.sportscardnationpodcast.com for the new release schedule, our blog, all show episodes, and so much more.
All right, guys, we're going to keep the outro short and sweet this week. But again, have fun however you collect. You're a buyer, you're a seller, you're both. I'm both. If you're just a buyer, be smart, be sensible. But at the end of the day, right, it's all about the hobbies and outlets. A way to kind of get away from everyday life, kind of bringing you down a little bit, and release some of that tension and enjoy. That's why it's called a hobby, right? You should be enjoying it. So however you do it, keep doing it, and we'll see you very, very soon.